Oh,
Mic check.
mic check, 1 2, mic check, 1 2. This is Slim Shady, the real Slim. Hello, peoples.
Don't
Uh,
spit a hot 16.
hot 16. I love this type of mic. To be honest, it make me feel like I'm about to. Palms are sweaty, arms weak, mom spaghetti is on it. Uh, this is a guy from a place. Charm City Bipper, Quis The Vndl, Marquis, governmentally. Uh, I'm here with Letrice.
Gant,
Yes, indeed.
co-organizer for Baltimore Ceasefire. Oh,
Heavy.
no longer. So, as the movement formerly known as Baltimore Ceasefire 365, we are now the Baltimore Peace Movement.
Baltimore Peace Movement. Heavy. Heavy, heavy, heavy. I am at work doing something that is the work I intend to do. And I'm grateful to have you here in this space with me.
Thank you. This
We
impromptu
yes.
conversation.
I'm like I'm I'm a yogi, so I'm at a point in my maturation because that sounds fly. That sounds fly. I'm
Yes.
at a point in my maturation where I want to get it where I can. So if there's something to be documented, if there's something to honor, I want to take the time to do it. So
And you mean that because you walk around with the mics.
got it on me, got them things on me, and I just like I said, I'm grateful, and we've been having a conversation that had a lot of gold in it. And I'm hoping to be able to impart that and continue that in this space. But last thing we spoke about.
So I'm actually gonna challenge something that you said.
All right.
I have a friend, he's from Nigeria. He's from Nigeria, and I think he was raised in his early life in London
Mm.
and then spent his teenage years here in Baltimore, and he's been here ever since. And we refer to our um given name as our government name.
Mm.
And one day I posted something about that on social media, and he was like, "That's not your government name. Your social security number is your government name."
Mm.
And I was like, "Huh?" He said, "Yeah, your social security number, that's your government name. The name that you refer, so Letrice,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's your
That's me.
given
Yeah.
name." And I was like, "Oh." So
Yeah.
whenever I hear somebody say their government name, I like to tell them that story
No,
because
adding to the gym, and I'm laughing inside because like Marquise is with my mama. She and the story behind Marquise is like it was a special thing in her life. If you know me, you know what the special thing was. And she was like, "This is gonna be what my son is. His name is," and it was either gonna be I was gonna be a junior or I was gonna be Marquise.
okay,
And I'm actually grateful to be Marquise. I'm laughing because I think Carrington is really my feels like But as I'm growing more, and I actually had an opportunity to do ancestry and find out the history
hmm,
behind the name and stories about the men who had it before me, I honor that name too. So,
okay,
government name always sound funny in the context of like, why you giving up my government? Why
right.
you letting people know where I be like? And ain't nothing to hide no more. I
Listen,
mean,
especially not with social media.
not a lot of privacy left. So what we can't hold on to, hold it tight.
Yes. So yeah, we were talking about anti-blackness
Mm.
and how insidious it is, and how a lot of us especially um, black people who identify as black, African American, more like however whatever your identity point is, how we um, are proponents or how we perpetrate anti blackness and don't even realize it because we think that we're critiquing culture and people. But in
Mm.
that critique, if you examine where that critique is coming from, it's definitely not a place of love.
Mm.
And it's not even our narrative. I want to talk real quickly about darkness. So, we live in a society where, you would lean into the light. It's, love and light, love and light. And how darkness has been demonized. And a lot of us don't even make the correlation between darkness and being black. So I replaced the word darkness with toxicity, because that's what it is for me. It's not darkness. If you think about from the moment of conception until the moment that we actually enter into the physical realm of this world, we live in darkness.
Absolutely.
We are bred in darkness. We are nurtured and nourished in darkness. And so it can't be that bad.
And look, we restore ourselves in darkness.
And we restore ourselves.
You go into a bedroom.
Yes.
You leave the lights off.
Yes.
You close them eyes.
Yeah.
And you restore yourself in darkness.
So like even that, and some people are like, oh, that's reaching. And I'm like, it is until it's not. If you look in a dictionary, Miss Trinisa talked about in a dictionary, and how we use language. You look up the word black in the dictionary, and it's associated with all of these toxic things. You look up white in the dictionary, and it's associated with all of these wonderful things. And we think, oh, that's just a coincidence. Except racism is not a coincidence, it's intentional. And so when we recognize that racism is intentional and really start to think of how language is used against us intentionally, how narratives are created and used against us intentionally, and how if you keep hearing over and over and over and over that there's something wrong with darkness and there's something wrong with black, and that's one of our major identity points, it is very hard for you not to believe that there's something wrong with you.
And it's so consistent. It's so consistent. There's a lot of points that I'm sitting with and feeling deeply, because words are powerful. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And I've watched how people are willing to acknowledge the effect of words with other groups.
Right.
There's words you're not allowed to say with other groups. Even when you're speaking about on a minor level, there's certain fragility, certain protections that other people are given with the tongue and verbiage. We don't get any of that, and we don't give it to ourselves as a culture.
That's not how we've been socialized.
So it's like, oh, that don't mean nothing. But stop means a lot in the courtroom. No means a lot in the courtroom.
Yep.
No, in certain verbiage are the difference between 2 and 15 years.
Yep. Trespassing
and loitering is light, but burglary and intention to rob, or these different things start to they make a big difference. So it's like, when we're not allowed to honor the words that destroy us. I mean, not honor, but acknowledge the words that are a destruction. Bringing destruction to us. It's problematic. And I love replacing words. And I mentioned that earlier. Just like I was feeling angry, and I had to be conscious. When you say I was feeling angry, I was experiencing a heavy emotion.
Yes.
And instead of just blanketing that emotion with the term anger, I had to dissect it to be like, oh, I feel disappointed. I feel like I'm not being acknowledged. I feel like what I'm offering is invalidated.
Right.
And these words gave me more agency to pinpoint each word, rather than it just had to deal with angry, because the reaction that comes from angry, like I said, can be, I want to go destroy something.
That's right.
I want to go do something that is going to make a big statement.
That's right.
Oh, you out with them? I'm going to go out with them.
Right.
And we going to go dumb.
Yeah.
So it's those moments. And I apologize. I'm stretching across the room. But it's like, I'm acknowledging these different things, and the anti-blackness lives within all of us, within the society. And it's so subconscious. That's the unconscious part. That's the shadow work that has to be done.
That's right.
And I have a good friend, Marquis, back. I'm grateful for what he's given me. And he mentioned like, a lot of people quick to do the light work. It's pretty to do the light work.
Right.
And sit amongst diffusers and We got rose petals in the spot, and we got every asana, and we go finish it off with the trip to the sauna, and we go get special. We got all of that. Cool.
Except it's incomplete.
It's incomplete because it's not acknowledging what's on that other half.
That's right.
Because that shadow's with us.
Yes.
In the light.
That's right.
That's the part people missing.
That is the part.
Because you showing up to the Starbucks with a smile and a peachy day, taking the cup from somebody who's struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
They're struggling to do a college class and putting these cups together so you can go enjoy your freedom.
Right.
While they got to go slave and struggle to get a 4.0. Like, it goes, and it goes. And that's the rabbit hole that I've been able to work my way around in my 26 years. But yes,
you talked a little bit about language earlier today. I think I heard you say something about microaggressions. And social media is what it is, and I am fortunate that I've been able to curate my social media experience in a way that, and it's a privilege that I'm able to ignore a lot of stuff, and I'm able to manifest a lot of stuff. I saw somebody say that it can be dangerous for us to even use the word micro or macroaggression, because what we're really talking about is racism. And so to call a thing, and not to say that we shouldn't use the word microaggression, but it's the same with dealing. I saw on TikTok, people say, we've renamed angry white women as Karens, when we should just call them racist. Like, we should call it what it is and stop giving these, cutesy names to it, and it's, dancing around. And I get the reason why, because calling it a microaggression is a step to identifying it as racism. Microaggression is a little bit more digestible for some people.
Yes.
Because, you jump to racism and people throw their hands up and I'm not racist. Okay, except that you were being, and that's,
yes. That's genuine to what is showing up in this space.
Right.
And I, last summer, because we're in the new space.
Right, in January.
Last summer, I was able to sit with that. Like, I cannot solve a problem when I'm calling it something it is not.
Come on.
If I'm hungry and I say, I could eat.
Right.
Ain't nobody finna feed me.
That's not the same thing.
Ain't nobody bringing me no food.
If I haven't eaten in 3 days and I say, I could stand to eat.
Well, you could stand to not eat.
Right.
Because that's easier to deal with. But when I say, I'm starving, bro.
Right.
Like, I worked all day.
Right.
I got a headache. There's a lot of bodily responses that are speaking to this. And then sometimes it shows, give me some food, bro.
Right.
I'm tired of riding around here. Like, let's stop and get something. Like, but it's like people are so used to being privileged and allowed to avoid and deflect.
That's right.
And that's one of the biggest deflections.
Yeah.
Using those words to minimize the reality.
To coddle people's reactions and feelings. And it might not even be intentional, but it's subconscious. The way that being so what would be the opposite of anti-blackness? It's the way that we've been socialized to handle whiteness very gently.
White fragility.
Yeah.
I always thought that was funny. I will say I got into a space in 2015, white privilege conference. And whenever I say people, that's that title alone. So it was a conference dedicated to dissecting how white privilege shows up in the different minority groups that are affected by it.
Right.
I met indigenous Americans who are struggling with their many struggles. This was at the start. I think Freddie Gray was murdered top of the year, and we went to that conference around that time, either before or after. But it was somewhere in that time period. And this is like the start of pronouns.
Yeah.
This is what I prefer. And I wasn't ready for it. So I think I did make a comment that made someone uncomfortable, but it's like, I don't got time for that when I literally come from the city with somebody. We're in Louisville, Kentucky for this conference at that.
Oh.
So we're in a city that has its own history and
Right.
trauma and
Right.
issues, and like the hotel we're in. Like it was so many moments that
Yeah.
I'm just like, y'all see what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly like you're in a space where people will make you feel insane for
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging what's real.
Right.
So I just think back to them bringing up calling people in. Black people have always had to call people in.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something new to our
It's
experience.
not.
But for everybody else, that's confusing because some people are new to being an outcast. They're new to
Right.
not having everything they want.
Right.
When you change certain things about yourself and your privileged group no longer gives you what you ask for.
Yeah.
You're a white female, and this would make someone uncomfortable. But if you're a white female and you start to do things that go against your culture, you lose certain privileges.
Right.
But the thing is, some of the things you decide not to do, you can decide to start doing again.
Right.
So
do you ever really like lose it?
do you ever lose it? And
Yeah.
that's the part that no one wants to sit
You
with.
can relinquish.
Yes.
You can be intentional and be like, I'm not going to, or I'm going to use this differently.
It's still a room in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the heaviest part. It's a room in the house of what you show up as.
Right.
If you decide you don't like daddy for 10 years and you want to go be an artist in the hood, cool.
Right.
But the day you decide to like daddy again could be the day he dies and his will puts you on with bread.
Ooh.
Now you got bread amongst these people that kind of treated you bad.
Ooh.
Do you want to be around them anymore, or you want to go play the game that you came from? I mean, it's just everybody don't got them options.
That is complex.
That's a little. That's a very imaginative space. Again, I'm just floating, but it happened somewhere,
Yeah.
and it is irritating just to think about that calling in. The civil rights movement was calling people in.
Mm-hmm.
We showed up in suits and ties. Like we didn't show up, and there's all of this talk these days. Oh, people go to Walmart in bonnets and pajamas. You don't know what people going through.
That's anti-blackness.
And it's like, what do it? Like they don't talk about nothing else nobody wear. It's like everything that we do is
it's
looked at.
wild because our culture and the correlation between our culture and poverty. So some people draw a straight line between blackness and poverty. And so when they see us doing things, and I get that at one point in time we believed that if we showed up a certain kind of way that would insulate us or protect us from certain things. Like I get that. And history has shown us that that's not true.
That's the biggest part for me. And the part that I sit with even still is Richard Pryor was a part of the 60s. Red Fox was a part of the 60s. Frank Lucas was a part of that era too.
Right.
These brothers weren't upstanding, but they still had emotion.
Right.
So it's like when we talk so negatively about people that are violent in people's eyes, y'all don't know about Bumpy Johnson?
Yeah.
Y'all don't know about like all of these different black people that
who showed up in
who showed up
suits.
in so many different ways. So many different ways.
Who showed up in suits.
And showed up in suits.
Malcolm and Martin wore suits every day and were still killed.
And this is the part that's even heavier. We don't talk about the other side of Malcolm. Detroit Red.
Right.
That's the side that made me like, oh, so it is something on the other side. If I decide to make different changes.
It's always. We're going to pause to read a note.
Why don't you just announce it? I have a special guest who is super dope. Miss Trinisa Brown, Mama T, coming to speak to y'all.
So I just was listening and I wanted to share how we actually reinforce the societal stereotypes. And I will speak on myself, for example. I never give an example without being vulnerable. I am one that truly dislikes the culture of the sagging pants. But do I dislike the culture of the sagging pants because that's my belief, or do I dislike it because that's the way I've been trained of how people are going to look at my young black men that wear their pants that way, of how they are going to put them in a box and judge them? Is that what is my motivation? I would say yes.
Yeah.
And it becomes a protection mechanism.
Yeah, I was gonna say that so the our the thing I this is my own personal opinion about it, that we create countercultures so that we distance ourselves from whiteness. So I think that we create countercultures and expression so that we distance ourselves from whiteness, because we recognize that proximity to whiteness is not going to protect us.
I hug that with everything in me.
Yeah.
Because I've seen both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I was oh, you're such a good child. You're so well behaved. You're so mannerly. You're so polite. These are not compliments.
Right.
You don't even see me.
Right.
You see these actions that are agreeable and sit with you in a way that does not make you uncomfortable. But my cousin is making you uncomfortable is no less than who I am.
That's right.
So that's where the problems come in.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's like proximity to whiteness sometimes gives people this sense of comfort. I'm in the big house.
Right.
What's going on in the big house? You just got a boogie put on your shoulder, bro. Like, Master done touched you in ways what are you doing?
But we have to acknowledge how we traumatize each other, because we are trying to anticipate how white supremacy will show up in the lives of our young Black children, that we will put this heavy burden on them about how they have to show up.
Yes.
We will put infiltrate them with this fear.
Yes.
This fear of living life out loud, because if the white supremacy see you as a threat, it could cost you your life. And as a mother, as a Black mother, I just want my son, my daughter to come home safe. And so I am putting a thought in their head of how they have to move in the world in order to come home safe.
Yeah.
And it's deeply embedded in our culture. My grandmother talked about that a lot. It's like, I'm going to whoop you so that when they get the opportunity to, they ain't got a lot of reasons to, because you already moving how you supposed to do. So it was like the politeness and mannerliness, although it was something I resented at times, because it's like, I feel like, forget, like, I don't curse, but I feel this heavy energy, like, this is why, this is weird. And
But what happens to the psyche of Black people
the
when
two lights.
whiteness is both the focus and the thing that we're avoiding? So I think about how we clip Black brilliance when we center whiteness. So I get it. Like I definitely I'm present with the idea that we have to create another layer of who we are. Excuse me, so that we are able to navigate the world that we live in, and how that runs up against the wall of self-actualization, self-realization, living in the fullness of our Blackness, and how it complicates things. Because what would our experiences look like if we were able to center our Blackness instead of reacting to centering whiteness?
Now, I got to take a commercial break. But I have a thought. I don't think nobody's going to sub for me. So if you two would like to continue this conversation, I'm going to keep this going, and I'm going to go step away till 2 o'clock.
We need to wrap it up because I got a group coming in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Letrice.
Thank you.
And
My pleasure.
one last shout out.
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. What am I shouting out?
The Baltimore.
Woo!
I do the same thing though,
Right.
Because you get so in the moment.
Yeah. So my name is Letrice Gant. I'm one of the co-organizers for the Baltimore Peace Movement, formerly known as Baltimore Ceasefire 365, and I am the deputy director at the Baltimore Community Mediation Center, where we offer free mediation services to anybody who lives, works, or goes to school in Baltimore, to help them to have hard conflicts, to help them to have hard conversations, navigate conflicts, and make plans so that they can live peacefully as well. BaltimorePeaceMovement.com and CommunityMediation.org.
Yes, indeed. And I'm tagging all of that information. And I'm glad she didn't forget all the things to shout out. That's so lit, though. Listen to all of that. So next time I hear somebody out here in these streets talking about what Baltimore ain't got and what we can't do and what ain't getting done, don't talk to me about that. Step up or get out of here, Miss Trinisa.
So I am Trinisa Brown. I am the Dean of Culture at City Neighbors Charter School. I am also a yogi under Black Male Yoga Initiative
Right.
and a part of their board. Be the change that you want to see. And it starts with you.
Indeed, indeed. Power to the people. You know, Shanga. Shanga. There you go. There you go. Love, love, light, and acceptance of our shadows and darkness.
Yes.
How?
I love that.
I say.
Ashe,